Welcome to the Nordic Venture Show, your speed date with the hottest Nordic innovations and ventures. In this episode, our venture date is with Quuppa, real-time location system for indoor tracking.
All right, so today we're going deep on something that's pretty fundamental to, everything, really.
Yeah.
It's knowing where stuff is, but not just in like a general sense, like, oh, it's over there.
Right.
It's like really knowing.
Right down to the centimeter.
Yeah, exactly. And we're talking real-time location systems,
Mhm.
RTLS, and you've pulled together a ton of info from Quuppa on this.
I have a lot of information, yeah.
I mean, everything from their main website to some really interesting stuff about how this technology is being used in Industry 4.0.
Yeah, that's a fascinating area.
And they're really claiming to do some pretty impressive things.
Yeah, so the core of their system is this idea that you can track assets and people with incredible accuracy,
Yeah.
like sub-meter accuracy in real time.
Wow.
And they even call it this powerful technology platform for location-based services and applications.
Okay, so that's a lot to unpack.
It is.
So let's start with the basics.
Okay.
What exactly is RTLS?
So, at its heart, it is basically a system to track the real-time location of things, assets, devices, even people.
Okay.
But what sets Quuppa apart, and they really stress this, is they're talking about centimetre-level accuracy.
Really?
Like not just knowing what room something's in,
Wow.
but down to a few centimeters.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, it opens up a lot of possibilities.
It's like having GPS for everything, even indoors.
Yeah, exactly.
So how does this even work?
So their system has a couple of key parts.
Okay.
There's a whole software suite, which is kind of like a toolkit.
Yeah.
Where you can plan out your tracking system and
Right.
simulate it and, test it, configure it,
Right.
and manage it all.
So you can like draw virtual boundaries on a map.
Exactly. Like you can set up what they call geofences.
Okay.
And you can make it so if like a piece of equipment moves outside of a certain area,
Right.
you get an alert automatically.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then they have these things called positioning and rules engines. Yeah. So the positioning engine is like the eyes of the system.
Okay.
It's collecting all the location data.
Okay.
And then the rules engine is like the brain.
Right.
You can set up rules. So like
Got it.
if a certain piece of equipment isn't where it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
at the start of a shift, you get a notification.
So it's not just tracking. It's like
Right. It's intelligent decisions. Yeah. And all of this is accessible through these things called APIs.
API.
Yeah. Application programming interfaces.
Right.
They're basically like digital connectors
Got it.
that lets you easily integrate Quuppa with all your other software.
So it's like this whole ecosystem.
It is, yeah.
So we've got the software, the brains of the operation, but
Right.
how does it actually track things physically?
So that's where they really highlight their strength.
Okay.
The first is that accuracy we talked about.
Right.
That real-time sub-meter accuracy.
Even in tough environments.
Yeah, even for things that are moving fast.
Yeah.
Think of like a busy warehouse floor with forklifts going everywhere.
Yeah.
Their system is designed to still be super precise in those situations.
And the second strength.
The second is their versatility.
Oh, okay.
They're really big on Bluetooth interoperability.
What does that mean exactly?
So they say their system can track billions of devices.
Billions.
Billions. Yeah, anything that has Bluetooth, basically.
Wow.
Smartphones, barcode scanners, you name it.
So like you wouldn't even need to attach a separate tracker.
Exactly. In a lot of cases, you could just use what people already have.
Wow, that's pretty clever.
Yeah, and that kind of speaks to their scalability.
Okay.
You can manage multiple tracking projects across all kinds of sites.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even choose different levels of accuracy depending on what you need.
So like for some things you might not need that centimeter level.
Exactly. You can save money by only using the highest accuracy where it's really crucial.
Makes sense. And the last strength.
The last one is their openness.
Openness.
Yeah, they have this open API, which makes it really easy to connect their system with all your existing software
Okay.
and to build new applications on top of it.
So it's like a platform that can grow with your needs.
Exactly. They've really thought about that.
They also talk about this one system, multiple needs idea.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
It's all about that adaptability we were talking about.
Okay.
Not every application needs the same level of precision.
Right.
So their system could do everything from just detecting if something's present
Okay.
to knowing exactly where something is down to the centimeter.
So you can kind of fine-tune it.
Yeah, exactly. And that tagless approach is a big part of that.
Right.
If you just need to know roughly where your employees are,
Yeah.
you can just use their company phones. You don't need separate tags.
That's super convenient.
Yeah. And they also talk about integrating multiple technologies,
Like what?
like Wi-Fi, GPS, Bluetooth, all in one system.
Wow. So you can track things seamlessly indoors and outdoors.
Exactly.
So
It's perfect for logistics companies.
I can see that.
And it's all designed to be scalable.
Okay.
So as your business grows, this system can grow with it.
And it works with all your other systems.
Yeah. They emphasize full interoperability.
That's important.
Yeah. And for companies with lots of sites,
Yeah.
they have this thing called the Quuppa Site Manager.
What's that?
It's basically a central platform for managing all your tracking deployments.
That sounds super useful for a big company.
It is, yeah.
So we've got a good handle on what RTLS is and what makes Quuppa's system unique.
Yeah.
But where is this actually being used?
So they highlight a bunch of different industries.
Oh.
They're really big on Industry 4.0,
Which is?
basically the digital transformation of manufacturing and logistics,
Got it.
using tech like this to make things smarter.
Okay.
And then there's just straight up logistics companies,
Right.
tracking goods and workers in warehouses and across the supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
Healthcare is another big one.
I can see how that would be useful.
Yeah, tracking patients, doctors' equipment, it's all really important.
Yeah.
They also talk about safety and security.
Okay.
Knowing where your employees and your assets are in real time,
Right.
that can really improve safety.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And beyond that, they list museums and events,
Huh. Interesting.
retail, sports, even smart offices.
Wow. So basically anywhere where knowing where things are is important.
Exactly. They're saying this tech can apply to pretty much any industry.
They seem to have a lot to say about Industry 4.0 specifically.
Yeah, they do.
So let's dig into that a bit more.
All right.
What kind of impact is RTLS having in that space?
So they talk a lot about operational efficiency.
Okay.
By knowing where everything is in real time,
Yeah.
you can cut down on all that time wasted searching for things.
Right.
Imagine you're in a big factory.
Yeah. And you need a specific tool
Right.
if you know exactly where it is.
Yeah, you can just go straight there.
No more wandering around.
No more wasting time.
And that saves money.
Absolutely.
What else?
They also talk about automating inventory management, so you always know exactly what you have in stock.
Right.
And that leads to fewer errors and less waste.
And they say it can optimize workflows.
Yeah, so like in a warehouse,
Mm-hmm.
you can make sure your workers are taking the most efficient routes
Okay.
and that they're always working on the most urgent tasks.
So it's about making everything run smoother.
Exactly.
And that leads to cost savings as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of cost savings are we talking about?
So one big one is reduced equipment downtime.
Okay.
If you know where all your equipment is
Yeah.
and you can track its condition,
Hmm.
you can do preventative maintenance
Right.
and avoid those costly breakdowns.
That's huge.
And they also talk about reducing waste in general
Okay.
and increasing production output.
So it's not just about saving money, it's about making more money.
Exactly.
And they mention automation saving on labor costs
Yeah, that's a big one.
and even indirect costs like insurance.
Right, because if your workplace is safer,
Yeah.
your insurance premiums might go down.
So it's like a ripple effect.
It is.
They're really making the case for this.
Yeah, they are.
And they talk about safety being a big benefit too.
Yeah, especially in industrial environments.
How so?
So by tracking workers in real time,
Yeah.
you can prevent accidents.
Okay.
Like you can set up virtual safety zones
Right.
and get alerts if someone enters a hazardous area.
That's smart.
Yeah, and you can even prevent collisions.
Like between forklifts and
Yeah.
people.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a big one in warehouses.
And if there's an emergency,
Mm-hmm.
you know exactly where everyone is.
Right.
So you can get help to them faster.
That could save lives.
Absolutely.
They also highlight some specific features that are good for Industry 4.0.
Yeah.
What are those?
So the sub-meter accuracy is obviously important.
Right.
If you're
Yeah.
tracking tools or components in a factory,
Yeah.
you need to know exactly where they are.
Makes sense.
And they have this thing called real-time varied accuracy levels. So basically you can choose different levels of accuracy
Okay.
for different things.
So you can save money.
Exactly. You don't need centimeter accuracy for everything.
Right.
And the fact that it can track Bluetooth devices
Yeah.
is really useful.
Yeah, like barcode scanners and phones.
Right. All that stuff that people are already using.
And that open API is important too.
Absolutely. It lets you connect this location data
Yeah.
to your other systems,
Yeah.
like your ERP,
ERP.
Enterprise Resource Planning software.
Right, right.
It's what companies use to manage their whole business.
Okay.
And they even say the system can act as an IoT gateway,
IoT.
Internet of Things.
Right.
so it can collect data from other sensors in the environment.
It's like a central hub for all kinds of data.
It is, yeah.
And they have some real-world examples of this in action.
Yeah, they do.
What are some of the companies they highlight?
So one is Mitsubishi Materials Corporation's Sanpo plant.
Okay.
They're a big copper producer.
Right.
And they use Quuppa to track their products.
Through their whole facility.
Yeah, their production process is pretty complex.
Yeah, I bet.
And this gives them much better visibility.
So they can improve their efficiency.
Exactly.
What other examples do they give?
Another one is LOXX Logger Logistic.
Okay.
They're a logistics company.
Mm-hmm.
And they use Quuppa for tagless tracking.
So they don't need to attach anything to their shipments.
Exactly.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it gives them really precise location data.
Without all the hassle of physical tags. What's the last example?
The last one is Kloeckner Metals.
Okay.
They saw a big increase in their shipments.
After implementing RTLS.
Yeah, and their delivery rates improved.
Oh.
And their overall efficiency went up.
So it's not just theory, it's actually working for these companies.
Yeah, they're seeing real results.
You also looked at some of their recent blog posts and articles.
I did, yeah.
What's new with Quuppa?
Well, they have new CEOs.
Okay.
Fabio Belloni and Soil Concampi.
So new leadership.
Yeah.
What else?
They're also making a lot of partnerships.
Oh, yeah. With who?
Well, there's Zulafly.
Oh, cool.
They're focused on healthcare.
So using RTLS in hospitals and stuff.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And then there's Twinzo.
Oh,
They're working on real-time location solutions for all kinds of industries.
So expanding the reach of RTLS?
Yeah.
What other partnerships are there?
There's Astra Mission Critical.
Okay.
They're helping Quuppa expand into new markets like Poland.
So going global.
Yeah.
And there's Senseless?
Yeah. They're working on making high-precision tracking more affordable.
That's important.
Yeah. And they're also focused on hybrid indoor-outdoor tracking.
That seems to be a big trend.
It is, yeah.
What other partnerships are there?
There's NAES.
Okay.
They're doing smart logistics in industrial environments.
Okay.
And there's another one with CIMAC and Senseless,
Okay.
also focused on that hybrid indoor-outdoor tracking.
Got it. So they're really doubling down on that.
They are, yeah.
Any more partnerships?
Yeah, the last big one is Siemens Accelerator.
Siemens, that's a big name.
Yeah, they're a huge company.
So this is a pretty major partnership.
It is, yeah. It's going to give Quuppa access to a much wider customer base.
Wow, so they're really expanding their reach.
Yeah, they are.
What else did you find in their blog posts?
Well, there's this thing called the Quuppa Rules Engine.
Yeah.
It's for handling really complex situations.
Like what?
Like, imagine you have a factory with lots of moving parts.
Yeah.
The rules engine can automate all kinds of actions.
Based on the location data.
Exactly.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and the Quuppa Site Manager is still a big focus.
Right, for managing multiple sites.
Exactly.
And their blog also talks about some interesting trends.
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, they're talking a lot about visualizing data.
Oh.
So you can actually see all this location information
Yeah.
and use it to make better decisions.
That makes sense.
And they're working with OnLogic.
OnLogic?
Yeah, they make hardware platforms.
Okay.
So together, they're building really efficient asset tracking solutions.
And they're looking ahead to 2024.
Yeah, they have a whole blog post about RTLS trends to watch.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they're also looking at some pretty specific applications.
Like what?
Well, they're talking about optimizing cross-docking facilities.
Oh, cross-docking.
Yeah, it's a type of warehouse
Okay.
where goods come in and go out really quickly.
So efficiency is key.
Absolutely.
And they're even talking about RTLS in aeronautics.
Yeah, that one's pretty wild.
I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, it shows how versatile this technology is.
Oh, wow. So they're really pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, we are.
Anything else?
Oh, yeah. They also have this new thing called Quuppa Lite.
Quuppa Lite.
Yeah, it's a more affordable solution.
Okay.
Specifically for inventory management.
Yeah.
And for those hybrid indoor-outdoor environments.
Right.
So they're really focusing on making this tech accessible to everyone.
That's great.
Yeah, they want to build a whole ecosystem around this.
So to wrap things up,
Yeah.
what are the key takeaways here?
So basically, Quuppa is offering this real-time location tracking system
Right.
that's super accurate and versatile.
Mm-hmm.
It can scale to handle huge operations,
Okay.
and it's open. So it works with all your other systems.
And it can track all kinds of things.
Yeah, assets,
Yeah.
people, anything really.
Using Bluetooth?
Yeah, and they even have that tagless tracking.
Right, so you can use devices people already have.
Exactly.
And we've seen how it's actually being used in the real world.
Yeah, companies are seeing real benefits.
You can improve efficiency,
Yeah.
cost savings, and enhance safety.
Exactly.
And the system is flexible.
Yeah, you can adjust the accuracy level.
Right.
And you can use different technologies.
Like GPS and Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so you can track things seamlessly indoors and outdoors.
It really seems like this could change the way businesses operate.
Yeah, it gives them so much more control.
And it gives them real-time insights.
Yeah, exactly.
So for our listeners out there,
Yeah.
I think the big question is, how could this transform your industry?
That's the key question.
If you had this level of real-time location data,
Yeah.
what could you do with it?
What kind of efficiencies could you unlock?
What kind of problems could you solve?
What kind of new possibilities could you create?
It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, it's a powerful technology.
And Quuppa is clearly leading the way.
They are.
All right, well, that's our deep dive on Quuppa and RTLS.
Fascinating stuff.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Nordic Venture Show. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories of innovation from the Nordics.